And that follows because, as is true with many, many people, particularly in my age group, who I knew in the conservative movement, it was really more personal than political reasons that attracted us in the first place to the conservative movement. For me, it was when I was in college at Berkeley. I've described that attraction to the conservative movement as the kind of attraction one might have to a cult. And I'm serious about this. It was emotional vulnerability and fear that drew me in. It was as I got older and found my moral bearings that I had the strength to get out. Let me just mention a couple of more significant aha moments for those of you who haven't read Blinded by the Right. As you know, I published a book a little more than 15 years ago defending Clarence Thomas against Anita Hill's charges of sexual harassment with a lot of help from the supporters of Clarence Thomas. I feel that way too now. In the years after publishing it, I came to understand that these supporters of Clarence Thomas who helped me write that book did not believe what they told me for publication. They did not believe that Thomas had told the truth in his Senate testimony. And I learned firsthand of some pretty ugly tactics that Clarence Thomas himself was willing to use to silence his accusers. And this kind of lying, even lying under oath, and those kind of personally destructive tactics were considered a perfectly acceptable way of doing business in the right wing. And this gradual realization about the character and the integrity of the people I was working with and what I was allowing that to do to my own character and integrity over time shook my foundations to the core. A second critical moment came, and Cenk referred to impeachment, same for me, a couple of years later when I was watching Hillary Clinton on the Today Show talk about the vast right-wing conspiracy. And I remember the news media dismissing this as delusional. But I knew it was true because I had been there. And you know, if you look up conspiracy in the dictionary, you'll find that it means a wrongful scheme. And as we all now know, there was a wrongful scheme to upend the Clinton presidency that began even before Bill Clinton was elected to the presidency. I was deeply involved in it. I knew all the players, the inner workings, how it was financed. And when it went to that level, in 1998, I went public. I started to blow the whistle on the whole rotten scheme to misuse the legal system and to subvert the Constitution. And so the two things together, what I witnessed in the Thomas case and in the case of impeachment and what caused me, quote unquote, to switch sides, really went beyond partisan and ideological disagreement, which isn't to say that I wasn't deeply concerned that the Republican Party had gone from the party of Bob Dole, which was no great shakes, to the party of Bob Jones. I had always been a social liberal, even while in the conservative movement, and was also trying to navigate a role in the conservative movement while being openly gay, and that was a challenge in and of itself, for sure. But what disturbed me most was what I saw firsthand, which were these real abuses of our system of government, the violations of small d democratic principles, and total disregard for anything resembling the truth. And I won't go into a litany of specifics because I'll leave that for our next distinguished panelist, John Dean, but I think it's fair to say that the unprincipled, corrupt, and lying conservative movement that I witnessed in the 1990s is still with us today and poses an even greater threat. And this shouldn't be, and I'm sure is not news to any of you here. In fact, you could have read about all these abuses by our government every day for the last several years in the newspapers, but you had to read them very, very closely. If you were reading the Huffington Post, reading John Dean's books, reading MediaMatters.org, listening to Cenk on the radio and reading his blog posts, for sure, you'd have a much clearer picture of what's been going on in this country than if you were relying on the so-called mainstream media. And so in addition to our Republican pasts, one of the things that knits this panel together is each in our own way, we are working in the media. And I'd like to just conclude with a few words about that. I'm not going to speak for others here, but the work we are doing at Media Matters is being done because I don't believe we'll recover our democracy until we fundamentally change one of the pillars of that democracy, the media. If we do not, as a movement, call the media to account, responsible debate on any issue you care about and any candidate you care about is impossible. And we have our work cut out for us. I'm sure you've already noticed that the media has described the next president as someone who looks like Mitt Romney, sounds like Fred Thompson, is a strong leader like Rudy Giuliani, and is fiercely independent like John McCain. And on the progressive side, it looks like we've got a bunch of inauthentic, lightweight, shrill, cold, calculating hypocrites. And together, it's our mission to stop this garbage. And that's the day we are working toward at Media Matters, and I would not have said this 3 years ago. But the good news is, as you all know and are all participating in, that we are at an inflection point with what's going on online. We are going to see that day, and you are going to make it happen, working together with all of us. Thank you very much.